Hey everybody, it's Phil Strazula from Select Software Reviews. We are here with Geoff Barlow. We're talking HR tech. We're talking different things that he's picked up through a pretty interesting career in this industry. It's going to be a really great conversation packed full of tactics and things that you can actually use on a day-to-day basis. Geoff, thanks for being here with us. Do you mind just kicking it off with a quick intro and kind of your background?
Sure. Thank you for the time, Phil, and happy to be here with everybody. Yeah, let me start with a little bit about how I started in the business. So, been in the recruiting industry, either in agency or corporate world, for about 22, coming up on 23 years. Actually started in the technology business with a company that wrote custom software and solutions for the DoD, and then moved into actually selling this logistics software to larger companies. So I actually started in a role that was not really recruiting, but found myself really liking bringing new talent into an organization and matching that talent with opportunity. And it just sort of either ignited something in me, an interest, or it was in my DNA, and it just came to life in that situation. But that technology company also sold terminals or kiosks. And so I've always had a sort of a propensity to look at technology and figure how can that technology be leveraged in a way that could automate or create a process of efficiency. And that's really the basis of how I even look at applicant tracking systems or CRMs, anything that's associated with this sort of practice. But I started that in the agency world, then moved over to work for three large corporations, Nationwide Insurance, AIG, and then Express Scripts. And now more working at a smaller, we consider a startup, but it's one of the largest players in waterworks and fire protection. And we're in the process of kind of the readiness work that we need to do before hopefully IPOing in 2021.
Nice.
So just
Yeah, it's pretty interesting that the groundwork for a lot of your frameworks for this stuff was so earlier in your career, and you've sort of gotten to use and refine it over time as you move from agency to corporate. I guess maybe it would be cool to just walk through like sort of your process for buying, selecting new tools, maybe from like the very start of things. I know in our last conversation, it seems like you're sort of always doing demos here or there. Is that true? Like, how do you choose like what demos to do? Do you only do them when you're looking at a solution?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's something that I learned from a former boss, and it's way back. And one of the things that he really ingrained in me, which is make sort of buying decisions based on feedback from your stakeholders, your business partners. And so I'm constantly talking with them about, what's going well, what's not going well, what are the problems you're trying to solve in, your line of business or your function and whatever it may be, and cataloging those, and then going out to do the research to find what are the solutions that are out there that could solve that problem.
So
And
this could be like head of sales, CFO, maybe a general manager for a different division, and you're just like, are you just getting coffee with these people once in a while, or like how are you sort of making sure you have a mechanism to get this information?
well, in different roles, I've had the opportunity to be in the field with or be in the business quarterly business reviews. And a lot of times those QBRs surface things that the business is dealing with. And it's making sure from an HR perspective, from a human resources or from a talent acquisition perspective, that you have that seat at the table, because that's when all the best conversations happen.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are providing that value and you're bringing those things to the business, they'll keep inviting you back. And, and then I will tell you, those coffees, those lunches, those dinners where you bring groups together, it's just finding the time to just talk about what's keeping you up at night. I know that's, sort of cliche to say, but it's been working for years. And I think if you are asking the questions, it's really about being inquisitive about what's challenging the business, whether that's, from a talent perspective or from, how do I actually automate this process that allows us to free up, the resource to actually focus on more business critical or higher value added activities. That's one of the things that I've really tried to do over my career is, take those things that can be repetitive or process driven and find a tool that will allow you to automate that. That's why, this newer technology around RPA, the robotic processing automation, I think is also another area that we're going to continue to see that expand in the talent acquisition and HR space.
So what's a like a quick example of maybe one of these conversations where somebody was like, hey, I'm trying to, the thing that is driving me crazy is X, and then you did Y?
Yeah. Well, I think that it's interesting because I'll just use a more recent, conversation. This business is continuing that I'm in right now. This waterworks and fire protection business, it's one that has a history that goes back over 100 years. But it's also been growing through acquisitions. And so there's a sort of a sophisticated startup that you feel with this, but there's also the sort of entrenched history that goes with, waterworks, which goes back to pipes being wood with, steel clad around them. Totally don't want to actually drink water out of any of those if you saw them. But I think one of the things that's evolved is how they are starting to look at pipelining talents. Before I arrived here, there was no CRM. So you weren't actively pipelining talents. You weren't looking at your network. And so combining the LinkedIn profiles and really getting our population here to really take an active role in updating and making sure that they have robust profiles, and then taking advantage of the referrals that come from that. And well, if you have that framework started, then it's really around, we need a contact relationship management tool to be able to start the prospecting. And so you start in two places. I start with my leader, who's the CHRO, and then you also start with the CFO, because there's two places that you need to get buy-in. What would be the value of bringing in a tool that costs X number of dollars? You have to start then looking at that return on investment. So prospecting top of funnel work and being able to say where I'm going to be able to decrease, the time to fill is these proactive pipelines that we're building with mission critical roles that the organization itself has identified. And so whatever those are, and it's building that framework. And I've gotten to a place now where it's kind of wash, rinse, repeat, because the framework itself is identify what problem you need to solve, which is we have a cost of vacancy, which is fairly high within the organization. And that was a way to work with our finance team to build that calculation. So we can say that every business day that we don't have this person in this role, it costs X number of dollars. And then to be able to go, okay, what I'm going to do is decrease the time to fill, and there's a direct dollar amount that's associated with that cost of vacancy decrease. And so I'm getting on both sides of this. It's going to be a good interaction because CRM has a capability of building talent communities. And then we are able to curate content. So it creates the brand awareness. It creates, this sort of ecosystem that allows people who aren't necessarily aware of us to actually find us. A good example, working example, is that just last week, we started focusing on a role that I've never worked on, my team's never worked on. Up until last week, I don't even think I've heard of it, which is a industrial hygienist. I didn't even know what that was. But because of the brand awareness and the work we've done through our relationship with LinkedIn and also with Phenom People, we built this, talent environments where our roles and, actually are getting to organizations like Disney, Walt Disney, where a person sees this, sees this opportunity that because of using technology and using brand awareness and using the availability of the content curation, it's actually created this, sort of environment in which we leverage the technology and leverage that sort of experience that we're creating. It's a human experience, but also leverages the technology in a way that's meaningful to solve that problem, which is decreasing the time to fill and also decreasing what would be the impact to the business of cost of vacancy.
Got it. That's awesome. So basically, because you're sort of this value-added partner, you're in these conversations, you're proactively meeting with the other sort of executives in the company. There's this pervasive feeling that, look, for these sorts of roles, every day we don't have this person, we're losing money. Let's actually calculate that number so we know how big of a problem it is. Oh my gosh, it's huge. How do we start to think about fixing that? And you're like, well, there's this CRM thing, there's pipelines, and there's like some nice kind of ancillary benefits where we can increase our brand, but also we're going to pipeline so that our time to fill for that particular role goes from 45 days to 30 days, which solves us X amount of dollars per role times this many roles per year. So if we're spending Y on the CRM, it totally makes sense, and everybody's sort of bought in. And is that so? At this point, have you gone out and talked to any vendors yet, or are you just getting the internal buy-in and making sure that this makes sense for you to spend your time on?
So I want to actually balance that, because I think there's a little bit of, being proactive to look at vendors. So I kind of run those in parallel. But I do want to know that if I'm going to invest the time to be able to go out and research and find a solution or multiple solutions, because typically you want to look at somewhere between 3 and 5 solutions that you can do at minimum an RFI, but at, if you're going to do a good evaluation, you want to have put it out for RFP. So I think that conversation is trying to determine from those leaders, is this really something that you want solved? And if so, being able to show that if we go down this path, we use this tool effectively, we can really pay for itself.
Got it.
By leveraging the tool and solving the business problem. But I've been very, I think this is having owned my own company and also come from 2 parents that owned, they were all both self-employed as well. There's this always thing in my back of my head going, is this the right investment? Is this the right tool that's going to solve that problem? And how important is this investment to solve that solution? Could you put the dollar somewhere else to solve a different problem? So I don't, the mantra that same leader that I referenced earlier always talked about, let's don't come with HR solutions, let's come with business solutions. And I think that's an important side of it is making sure that if you're going to make a recommendation in a tool, that you've done your homework and you've created the business case. So business telling you that this is a problem to solve, saying, hey, I think I can solve this for you. I think this is how much it's going to cost, but it's also here's the savings I think we're going to have, or the return on investment that you're going to see from leveraging that tool.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. You're doing an RFI, request for information. You're getting some info about what might this cost? What might our end results be? That's informing your conversation to figure out whether or not this is worth pursuing in a more aggressive manner, spending the money, but also probably the time is equally important. Your headspace, you can only work on so many things at once. And I guess this is for, you're a startup, you're a smaller company relative to AIG, but you're still a sizable business, but I think the analogs are pretty clear even for the smaller companies out there that, you're probably not going to do a formal RFP, but it's sort of like a really nice framework for what process to run. How do you create that short list of those like 3 to 5 vendors?
Well, I'm constantly looking at leaders in the industry, and I'm an avid user of ERE.net, so Electronic Recruiter Exchange, and I look for what is a tool that's come out through HR tech that could potentially provide the solution. I have to tell you, I mean, conversations that Phil, you and I have had over the year and a half, I think maybe 2 years now that we've known each other. We've had some conversations that are around what's out there, and I try to stay really connected with my network. That's the reason that LinkedIn, I think, has been such a great tool for those that are in business, including those of us in the HR and talent acquisition space, is that we can reach out to our networks and say, hey, I've got a couple of, I try to do like between 10 and 12 people, and I did it twice this week. I just send a note out and say, hey, I'm trying to solve this problem. Have you tried to solve this before? And if so, what technology did you use? And I think that starts to leverage your network you already have created. And then it's also, you've got to be, there's the give and the take. It's also being open that in offering to those same individuals or your network is to say, if you're trying to solve, I'm happy to jump on a call and talk with you, or exchange emails, or whatever it may be. Get on a video call and talk it through. But I think those are the things that are really important to make sure you're leveraging the network to say, who have you used to solve this problem, or have you even tried to solve this problem? And if you did, what were the pluses and the minuses? If you could do it again, would you do it differently? If you had to select the same tool, would you select it? And if not, what other tool would you select? And I think my network has been really good about, sharing their experience. But I also am constantly doing, it's funny, I've got a spreadsheet, and it's, a couple times a week, I'll put down on my calendar, and I'm going to do specific searches for technology that's out there. And I put those names and those links into the spreadsheet, and it's broken down by tabs. And you just sort of figure out, based on the solution that the business says they need, and going out to see research and technology companies that are out there that actually provide those services. And then you ask your network, hey, I'm looking at X, Y, and Z, or 1, 2, and 3. Any experience with these companies? Can you provide any feedback? And that's how I've done it over the years.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense, especially if you have a tight network of smart, credible people. Are there any sort of pro tips for the rest of the process? You've identified these 3 to 5 vendors, you're going to do demos, you're going to get other internal stakeholders to probably do demos, you're going to negotiate, you're going to implement, you're going to try to capture that value, and then probably try to explain the value internally to those stakeholders that you met with in the beginning, the CFO, CHRO, et cetera. Are there any kind of key things that you think you might do differently than others that would be useful?
Well, I think that after I secure that initial buy-in from the leaders, it's making sure you've got a good guiding team around you that are really the clinicians of who would potentially be benefactors of a tool or solution. And it's making sure that you sort of build that coalition, around that solution, because it's one of the things that, go back to the sort of military side of, you can draw up best plans, but they can completely fall apart at the firing of the first bullets or the first shots. And I think you've got to make sure you've got the right, team members. So I really make sure that as I start to go down that path of evaluation, that I'm bringing people in that have different views or perspectives than I do. I want to make sure I have somebody who's going to, I always want to have a person who is going to push back on my thinking. And I think that's really important for any project or technology implementation, is somebody that is going to be, have you thought about this? Or I don't know if that's going to work well for the team for these reasons. I don't want to build a team. And it's another thing that comes from just past experience of building a team that is only focused on the benefit and the positive side of that. I want to have individuals on the team, and it's best to have, sort of a good mix of individuals that are like, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that it's a successful implementation. But I also want to make sure, as I'm evaluating the products, that we're looking at all of the pitfalls that could potentially happen with this technology. Because what I found is there's no silver bullet, there's no sort of secret sauce that goes into a technology solution. There's going to be puts and takes. So what is going to be the benefit of that versus maybe the downside of that product? And can you mitigate through process or how the technology is implemented to mitigate that risk to get it to its lowest common denominator? But it really is critical to have a good evaluation team, a good implementation team, and then also your post implementation, because you really want to look at, once you do that implementation, what are the continuous improvement that you have in that technology as new enhancements get pushed out, whatever it may be. So it's really into those three segments. In the evaluation, in each one of those, there may be different team members for each one of those segments, because that creativity and that sort of questioning and always being sort of like, I'm going to date myself here, it's kind of a Columbo type person that's a detective. That works really well in some segments of each one of those during pre-evaluation, implementation, and then post implementation, looking for how do we continue to improve using the technology, or different processes you can roll in from that you didn't want to do in the initial implementation.
And are these people all from the TA org? Like, how big are these teams? How do you get people on these teams?
Yeah, it's another thing that I learned is, I try to have those that are in the business that have said, here's the problem that we're trying to solve. Because again, I go back to, I don't want to bring an HR solution. What I want to bring is a business solution. And so if I actually have that team pulled together that has representation from the business, representation from HR, and then I even pull in individuals from technology, because two, they're ones that, you've got security. They have to evaluate the technology that's coming in. They have to be, part of, if you're using a solution that requires white listing of the URLs or emails or whatever it may be, it's making sure you pull together a good representation of those that are going to need to have that buy-in for success of that implementation. And I always go back to, I'm gonna listen to the business. I'm going to maybe present something as, hey, I'm seeing something in the business that's telling me this may be a problem for you. Is it? And if so, then let's create a solution, or go find a solution. And then if so, let's pull together that team. So I really ask those leaders, who do you think I should bring on from your team to be part of this team? And it's going from the top and getting those recommendations. And a lot of times you find the best people that are recommended also be your strongest advocates and allies in the implementation of that system. Even if it's not in sitting in finance, it may be a solution that because of their advocacy has been able to budget that CapEx that actually allows you to get that product.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. There's this whole cross-functional buying committee thing that I've been talking about for a while, and that's basically what you're up to. Before we end, are there any solutions that have hit your radar recently that you think like people maybe should take a look at? Maybe something you're using, or maybe something you just got a demo of, or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny. The most recent demo has that I just completed was for something that's not really talent acquisitions specific. So, but it was. I mean, everybody's talking about them right now. Is the thermal imaging cameras and kiosks associated with getting your
Mm.
temperature taken as you're coming into a business.
Yep.
But again, I sit in TA and actually have been doing work that's associated with something that's more of a environmental health and safety area within the business. But one of the tools that has been really, I think, beneficial for the recruiting environment we've created here is Phenom People. And we initially did the implementation, which was to create this sort of Amazon like environment for recruiting, so that you're focusing on the human side of the experience, and that it's actively learning from the search that the person's doing on your job site. So it really was first to create a good experience for the career portal, and then be able to create a good application process that doesn't overtax an applicant coming into that, but also then using their CRM to create an experience that has a talent community you can join. It has job alerts that you can leverage. And then we can curate content that allows our communications and marketing team to be able to infuse that into the experience. Those that may not have found a role that fits right now, but we can serve up some interesting information to them about the area in which they express interest. And so that's been, one of the initial external views plus the CRM. The next really area we'll be expanding on is the internal mobility, because I think that's another important part of how you really focus providing value to your associates, your team members, is making sure that they're learning about those opportunities inside the organization, and that they're plotting their sort of course. So it's leveraging internal training capabilities that have already been set up to say, hey, if I want to move from X role to Y role, here's the training that I should take that allows me to prepare for that. And then making sure you create the experience that they can easily find those opportunities inside the organization. So that's, we've had some success over the last year and a half since we implemented. And it's the second time I've implemented the Phenom experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. It seems like a great product. Well, thank you so much for sharing some of your story, the sort of tools, tactics, et cetera, that have been successful for you. If people want to, track you down on the internet, is there like a good place for people to get in touch?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you can reach out to me through LinkedIn. That's the best place to actually connect with me. And I constantly am having folks reach out through the network, and certainly people in my network have referred. So LinkedIn's the best place to go. My name is Geoff Barlow. It's with a G, so it's Geoff, and then Barlow, Barlow, and you can find me out on the profile there.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Geoff.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate the time.